Where have I been privileged, and what am I doing with it? There is a quiet question we often avoid, a question that unsettles the ego, challenges our assumptions, and humbles our accomplishments. Where have I been privileged? Not earned, not deserved, not even chosen, but given, by birth, by chance, by circumstance. The Stoics would ask us to reflect not just on what we've done, but on what we've been given, because if philosophy means anything, it must begin with truth. And the truth is this: we do not all begin from the same place. Marcus Aurelius, though Emperor of Rome, reminded himself daily of how fragile and unearned his position truly was. He wrote, "Take care that you do not treat inhumanly those who are subject to you, for they too are your brothers." He knew his power could corrupt his perception, and so he confronted it, not with guilt, but with gratitude and responsibility. So let us do the same. Let us pause and ask, what advantages have I been born into? What comforts do I take for granted? What structures exist to support me that others do not enjoy? It might be the color of your skin, the passport you hold, the education you were afforded, the parents who supported you, the safety of your childhood home, the access to clean water, to stable power, to a neighborhood without bombs or hunger or fear. Privilege wears many faces, and it doesn't mean your life has been easy. It simply means some things weren't made harder by forces outside your control. But even this idea, this naming of privilege, can make us uncomfortable. We fear it cheapens our struggle. We fear it diminishes our accomplishments. We fear it invites blame. But that fear is the ego talking, and the Stoics taught us to rise above it. Epictetus, born into slavery, said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If that is true, then we must also ask, what am I doing with the things that didn't happen to me? The trials I was spared, the dangers I never faced, that too is part of our moral accounting, because when we reflect on our lives without defensiveness, we discover something liberating. Privilege is not a stain, it is a signal pointing to our responsibility, not to feel ashamed, but to remain awake. Because the world does not ask us to repay privilege, it asks us to recognize it, to hold it with humility, and to use it wisely, quietly, and well. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to shift from acknowledgement to action, because reflection without movement is decoration, and we are not here to decorate our minds. We are here to act. Before we continue, I want to share something important with you. We've seen that a large number of our viewers, perhaps even you, listen regularly, but haven't yet subscribed. If this message has resonated with you so far, if you find even a moment of stillness or clarity in these reflections, we kindly ask you to consider subscribing. This channel is not about noise, it's not about trends, it's about service. And I can promise you this, our small but committed team will continue doing everything we possibly can to bring you value every single week. Thoughtfully researched, carefully written, quietly powerful. All we ask in return is that you join us by subscribing and turn on notifications so you never miss your next moment of insight. Let's walk this path together. Once we've looked inward and recognized where we've been privileged, the next question quietly emerges: what will I do with what I've been given? A recognition alone is not virtue. It is the first step, the mirror. But philosophy, especially Stoic philosophy, insists that we move from the mirror to the arena. Awareness must become responsibility. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance, and no one becomes just by merely noticing injustice." The Stoics remind us that life is not judged by how well we were treated, but by how well we responded to what we were given, whether favor or misfortune. So if life has opened doors for us, through safety, education, health, status or wealth, then our task is not to feel guilty for walking through them. It is to hold the door open for others, to not pull the ladder up behind us, to not hoard the light we've inherited, to not pretend we climbed entirely alone. This does not mean performative charity. It does not mean savior complexes. It means using your position, whatever it may be, with thoughtfulness and integrity. Start small. Maybe you were mentored. Offer that same time to someone who reminds you of where you began. Maybe you live in stability. Use that steadiness to speak up when others cannot. Maybe your race, gender, or language has never been questioned. Use that privilege not to dominate conversations, but to make room for those who are rarely heard. Marcus Aurelius, despite all his titles, called himself a man of the city, a servant of the common good. He did not flaunt his station. He worked within it, quietly, determinedly. He wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This is the Stoic blueprint, to recognize our part in the whole, to use what we've been given to strengthen not just ourselves, but the hive. Because privilege, when hoarded, curdles into entitlement, but privilege, when channeled, becomes a force for justice. It becomes a quiet hand extended, a platform shared, a burden eased, a system shifted. And none of that needs applause. In fact, the more noble the act, the less it should require recognition. Remember, Epictetus had no title, he had no wealth, but his voice has shaped generations of thinkers precisely because he understood the weight of humility and the power of consistency. So whatever form your privilege takes, own it, not with shame, not with denial, but with intention. Let it guide you to serve, to notice, to uplift, to share, because the purpose of advantage is not elevation, it is contribution. In the next chapter, we'll confront the ego, because privilege, when unexamined, breeds blindness. But when you hold it with humility, it can become your most powerful lens. There is a strange thing about privilege. The more we have of it, the harder it is to see. It fades into the background. It becomes the default setting. Like water to a fish or air to our lungs, we do not notice it until it's gone. This is the danger of unchecked comfort. It breeds blindness. The Stoics warned us not to mistake fortune for wisdom, to not confuse ease with virtue. Epictetus, who knew hardship intimately, said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." And one of the most stubborn opinions we hold is this: I am where I am because I earned it entirely. But that isn't always true, or rather, it's not the whole truth. Yes, we work hard. Yes, we struggle. Yes, we face challenges. But beneath those efforts may lie a foundation we did not lay. To acknowledge this doesn't erase our effort. It humbles it. It contextualizes it. It reminds us that luck and labor are often intertwined, and that humility is the antidote to delusion. The ego resists this. It whispers, "You deserve it all. You owe nothing. Let others figure it out." And if we listen to that voice for too long, we grow distant from others, dismissive, defensive, detached. The Stoics ask us to stay close to reality, to see ourselves clearly, to examine our beliefs, even when they bruise our pride. Because unchecked privilege can lead to arrogance, and arrogance blinds us to suffering we don't personally experience. We see hunger and assume laziness. We see struggle and blame bad choices. We see difference and mistake it for disorder. But humility disrupts that cycle. It pauses before it judges. It listens before it speaks. It asks, "What don't I see? What haven't I lived?" Marcus Aurelius practiced this. Despite being emperor, he reminded himself that his status did not make him better than others. He wrote, "Keep before your eyes the ease with which they sin, and the difficulty with which they are corrected." But it is our job as students of philosophy to stay awake, to name what we have, to share where we can, to walk through the world not with guilt, but with grace, because privilege is not a flaw, but denial of it is. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it means to transform privilege, not into performance or shame, but into meaningful contribution. Because the Stoic does not seek applause, they seek alignment with virtue, with justice, and with the truth of who they are and what they carry. So far, we've taken inventory of privilege. We've admitted what we've been given, and we've challenged the ego that would rather look away. Now we arrive at the threshold of something higher, purpose. The Stoics believed that what we possess is only meaningful when it is put to use, virtuous use. Seneca said, "What progress, you ask, have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself." To be a true friend to yourself, you must live in alignment, not just with your ambitions, but with your responsibilities. If you've been given a gift, be it intelligence, influence, wealth, health, or stability, the Stoic answer is simple. Use it well, not for show, not for social points, but because virtue demands it. So how does one turn privilege into purpose? By asking the question that begins all change: who else can benefit from what I've been given? Start in the smallest possible way. Are you educated? Then help someone navigate what you once found confusing. Are you connected? Then open doors for those still knocking. Are you stable? Then lend your steadiness to someone in crisis. We think helping must be grand, that it must be loud or public. But the Stoics remind us the truest acts are often quiet, a shared resource, a patient ear, a kind referral, a stand taken when silence would be safer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." So ask, what does your community need? Not what looks impressive, not what boosts your image, but what actually serves. If you were granted immunity from certain struggles, what are you doing for those who still face them? And more importantly, what are you doing without needing to be thanked? Because true contribution doesn't crave recognition. It is rooted in virtue. It is its own reward. Your privilege, once examined, can become your platform. Not the kind you stand on, the kind you lift others from. That doesn't mean saving people. That doesn't mean assuming superiority. It means standing shoulder to shoulder and asking, how can I help? Then following through, consistently, quietly, with integrity, because when privilege becomes purpose, we stop obsessing over what we deserve and start focusing on what we can give. The Stoic lives with this orientation towards the greater good, toward justice, toward usefulness, not in abstract but in action, not in words but in deeds. And that brings us to our final reflection. Legacy, not the kind carved in marble but the kind planted in hearts. In our final chapter, we'll ask what it means to leave the world better than we found it, not just through struggle, but through service. Because privilege is not the end of the story. It's the invitation to write a better one. We come now to the final question, the one that will outlive all the others. What did I do with what I was given? This is the question that echoes long after we are gone. The Stoics remind us that legacy is not about fame. It is not about monuments or books or names engraved in stone. It is about impact, how our presence shaped the lives around us. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." So, what does it mean to be a good person when privilege is part of your story? It means you lived not just for yourself. It means your comfort did not insulate you from compassion. It means you did not hoard the light, but reflected it. You understood that privilege is not the destination. It is the starting point, a base camp from which to ascend, not alone, but with others. Let's be clear, legacy is not performance. It's not what people post about you when you're gone. It's what people feel quietly because you were here. Did you listen when it was inconvenient? Did you share when no one was watching? Did you lift others without expecting to be carried yourself? These are the acts that last. You see, most privilege is invisible, and so too is its best use. A scholarship offered, a hiring recommendation, a moment of kindness that redirects someone's path. These moments don't go viral, but they ripple through generations, and that's the point. The Stoics did not believe in legacy for legacy's sake. They believed in legacy as a moral echo, not noise, but resonance. So what is your echo? Is it one of generosity, of responsibility, of humility, or is it one of avoidance, of deflection, of defensiveness? That's the final question, and it is never too late to change the answer. Because legacy is built daily in the way you speak, the way you give, the way you hold space for others who were not given what you were. Seneca said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." And part of learning how to live is learning how to give. To give without shame, to give without superiority, to give because you can. So ask yourself now, where have I been privileged? What am I doing with it? And when I leave, what will remain because of how I used what I had? That is the Stoic inheritance. Not perfection, not wealth, not power, but the quiet, resolute decision to live justly, serve earnestly, and leave something behind that was better than what you found.